Here's what nobody tells you about Hallmark's feel-good romances. Sometimes the most compelling love story isn't between the main romantic leads. And The Groomsmen Last Dance proves this point brilliantly, but in a way that might just divide audiences. This third and final installment of Hallmark Channel's Groomsmen trilogy delivers the conclusion we've all been waiting for. Finally unveiling the identity of that mysterious runaway bride who's been narrating the entire series. But here's where it gets controversial. The reveal might leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about modern romance storytelling. Final verdict. Should you invest your time? The opening sequence brings us full circle to the wedding celebration that started this entire journey. Hannah's special day, where Danny's sister said, "I do." This was the magical setting where Pete, BJ, Britt first locked eyes with Chelsea, Heather Hemmons, in the trilogy's debut film, and where Danny, Jonathan Bennett, discovered his friend and business manager, Zach Alexander Lincoln, had found love with someone named Nolan in the second movie. Now, at this same celebration, Jackson, Tyler Hines, receives life-changing news. His beloved teenage daughter Betty will be relocating to Italy with her mother. The complete story breakdown. In this concluding chapter, we finally dive deep into Jackson's world and discover what makes this devoted father tick. We already understood his role as a talent agent for social media influencers and his unwavering dedication to his daughter Betty. But now, his complete background begins to unfold. Following Danny's destination wedding in Greece, Betty and her mother Trisha make the big move to Italy. The separation absolutely crushes Jackson, though he maintains an excellent co-parenting dynamic with Trish. When she informs him about a month-long work commitment that requires her to leave Italy temporarily, Jackson, who's becoming increasingly frustrated with his professional life, sees this as the perfect opportunity for a refreshing change of scenery and quality time with his child on the stunning Italian coastline. As Jackson navigates through his daughter's picturesque new town, he nearly collides with a pedestrian, a stunning Italian woman named Gabriella, who immediately unleashes her fury on him for being yet another distracted American tourist, simultaneously driving and conducting business calls without any consideration for his environment. It's the quintessential romantic comedy setup. They begin as instant adversaries before fate keeps throwing them together, gradually melting their initial hostility into something warmer. But here's where it gets interesting and potentially problematic for some viewers. Gabriella isn't just a random local. She's literally everywhere in Jackson's new temporary life. She serves as Betty and Trisha's landlord while also managing a family restaurant alongside her mother. Talk about convenience in storytelling. Some might say it's charming destiny, while others could argue it's lazy writing. Jackson volunteers to revamp Gabriella's restaurant website and develop their brand identity, leveraging his professional expertise while also creating a welcome distraction from Betty's complaints about his excessive hovering around her social circle. After collaborating on the business project, Gabriella offers to prepare a homemade dinner for Jackson and Betty, a gesture that absolutely delights Betty, who's been secretly orchestrating opportunities to bring them together. However, Jackson experiences a sudden panic attack when he realizes his growing emotional attachment to Gabriella, abruptly severing their budding connection before it can truly develop. During the town's annual masquerade celebration, perfectly timed with surprise visits from Danny and Pete, Jackson shares an enchanting dance with a mysterious masked partner, obviously Gabriella, though he doesn't immediately recognize her. This magical moment serves as his wake-up call, reminding him that experiencing romantic feelings is not only acceptable, but necessary for his personal growth. Jackson continues battling his romantic impulses. But the question remains, what's really holding him back? His constant refrain about not being ready for relationships rings hollow until Betty delivers some harsh truths. She confronts him directly, explaining how his constant coddling, Dropping her off and picking her up from school daily makes her feel infantilized and has limited her to just 2 friendships because of his suffocating presence. When Jackson defends his behavior as protective parenting, Betty cuts straight to the heart of the matter. He's not protective, he's overprotective of both her and his own vulnerable heart. And this is the part most people miss. Jackson's character arc isn't really about finding love, it's about learning to let go. When Jackson finally decides to open himself up emotionally, he accompanies Gabriella on a crucial visit to her estranged father's vineyard. She needs to secure his signature on a merger contract between his vineyard and her mother's restaurant, a delicate negotiation requiring her to serve as mediator since her parents remain bitter enemies following their divorce. Their vehicle breaks down during the journey, forcing them to spend an unexpected night with her gruff, weathered father. The 2 men discover common ground as protective fathers who deeply love their daughters, despite their own failed marriages. Jackson successfully persuades Gabriella's father to sign the merger agreement, and through this process, he experiences a profound realization. He must open his heart to love, or risk becoming an embittered, isolated old man. As our mysterious bride narrator reveals that Jackson and Gabriella finally found their happy ending, the scene shifts back to her hiding place in an Irish pub, where her own Graham finally tracks her down. This climactic moment unveils the narrator's identity. She's Betty, now calling herself Elizabeth, and her groom is Milo, Danny's nephew. Remember him failing spectacularly at flirting with Betty during Hannah's wedding? Apparently, persistence paid off. But here's the revelation that might spark debate. Betty Elizabeth fled her own wedding because she and Milo lack the sweeping, cinematic love story that the 3 groomsmen experienced. No adorable meet-cute moment. No globe-spanning relationship roller coaster. No dramatic obstacles to overcome. Milo challenges this perspective, guiding her to an old arcade machine displaying the high score holder as MLB. Betty always assumed those initials belonged to her Uncle Danny, the baseball player. But Milo reveals he's actually the record holder, and the letters represent Milo loves Betty. His childhood declaration of love hidden in plain sight. They return to their wedding ceremony, where surrounded by Jackson, Danny, and Pete, they exchange vows. Comparisons and context. This entire trilogy echoes the structure of 4 weddings and a funeral, minus the tragedy, distributed across multiple films instead of one cohesive narrative. This specific installment particularly mirrors Hallmark's earlier 2024 release, 2 Scoops of Italy, featuring an American protagonist discovering romance with an Italian gelato artisan during a European adventure. Honest critical assessment. This entire groomsman journey, from beginning to end, genuinely charmed me beyond expectations. I anticipated this 3rd film more eagerly than its predecessors, partly because Jackson secretly became my favorite groomsman and I was invested in his romantic storyline, but also because I was curious about how the mystery bride's narrative would conclude. While I suspected Betty's identity, the clues were fairly obvious. Witnessing the revelation unfold remained satisfying. Although Jackson's romance with Gabriella followed predictable patterns similar to the previous love stories, I felt somewhat disappointed that we didn't witness a grand wedding ceremony between them. However, this minor complaint gets overshadowed by the genuine emotional weight provided by Tyler Hynes and Chloe Raphael's father-daughter relationship as Jackson and Betty. Watching Hynes embrace the protective father role is undeniably appealing. But what truly stands out is the authentic chemistry between these actors, whose relationship feels genuinely warm, familial, and believable. Wedding scenes don't typically affect me emotionally, but when both Jackson and Betty, now Elizabeth, deliver their mutual toasts, I definitely experienced some unexpected feelings. Potential concerns. If I'm being completely honest, my primary criticism involves the inconsistency between young Betty, Raphael, and her adult counterpart, mystery bride Elizabeth, Lily Dodsworth Evans. They don't seem like the same person evolving over time. Young Betty radiates mischievous, tomboyish energy, while Elizabeth appears more refined and reserved, even insisting on her formal name rather than her childhood nickname. From a storytelling perspective, this differentiation makes sense to prevent audiences from immediately identifying her in the first film. But given Betty's central importance to the overall narrative, I wished Elizabeth possessed more of that original sparkle. Ultimately, this doesn't ruin the experience, and Last Dance successfully resolves all loose plot threads while providing every beloved character with the happy ending they deserved. Final moments. The closing scene features everyone celebrating at Betty and Milo's wedding as the opening notes of Shake Your Groove Thing fill the air. Betty specifically requested this song so Jackson, Pete, and Danny could perform their signature choreographed routine, a dance they created during their childhood summer camp days. The three men take center stage and lead the entire crowd in an energetic celebration. Standout performance. Chloe Raphael, portraying young Betty, absolutely shines with natural sweetness and charisma. She masterfully captures frustrated teenager energy without falling into annoying stereotypes, while proving herself a perfect fourth member of the Groomsmen group dynamic. Memorable quote, "Remember all those times you walked me to school in Italy?" Betty asks Jackson as he nervously escorts her down the aisle at her own wedding. Those were just practice runs. Ultimate recommendation. The Groomsmen Last Dance completes what the first two films established and provides a genuinely satisfying viewing experience from the opening wedding to the final celebration. Treat yourself to the complete trilogy binge-watching experience. Definitely stream it. But here's my controversial question for you. Is Betty/Elizabeth right to demand an epic movie-worthy love story, or does Milo's quiet, consistent devotion represent something more valuable in real relationships? And what do you think about Jackson's parenting style? Protective father or helicopter parent? I'd love to hear whether you think the trilogy stuck the landing or if the mystery bride reveal felt like a cop-out. Drop your thoughts in the comments below.